This is Matador News, and these are today's headlines. Vice President Biden decides not to run for president. A police officer was shot and killed in New York City. And two teams could be on their way to the World Series. Hello and welcome to Matador News. I'm Mariah Robinson.
And I'm Desiree Lopez. U.S. Vice President Joe Biden won't be running for president. Biden announced today that he is still going through a grieving process that prevents him from running.
As my family and I have worked through the grieving process, I've said all along, what I've said time and again to others, that it may very well be that that process, by the time we get through it, closes the window on mounting a realistic campaign.
With Biden not running, it leaves Clinton and Sanders as the top candidates for the Democratic nomination.
Wisconsin Republican Paul Ryan says he is willing to serve as House Speaker, but only if his conditions are met.
This is not a job I've ever wanted, I've ever sought. I'm in the job I've always wanted here in Congress. I came to the conclusion that this is a very dire moment, not just for Congress, not just for the Republican Party, but for our country. And I think our country is in desperate need of leadership.
After weeks of lobbying from senior members for him to take on the difficult task of leading the divided conference, Ryan laid out his guidelines during a full House GOP conference last night. Ryan says he will only run if all three groups inside of the House Republican Conference support him. Ryan also said he wants to make it harder to overthrow a sitting speaker, and he wants a better work-life balance than Boehner had.
Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Secretary of State John Kerry are meeting in Europe today to discuss the continuing violence in Israel. But Netanyahu has caused public uproar due to a comment he made on another subject yesterday. The Prime Minister said that it wasn't Hitler's idea to kill all the Jews. He claimed that the Mufti of Jerusalem, Hag Amin al-Hawzani, was the one who gave him the idea. Hitler only planned to expel them. Hawzani was a Palestinian nationalist who led violent campaigns against Jews. However, the chief historian at Israel's memorial to the Holocaust said Netanyahu's facts were incorrect.
The New York City police officer who was fatally shot last night has been identified as Officer Randolph Holder. NYPD officers said gathered outside of the Harlem hospital to salute the ambulance carrying Officer Holder. Officer Holder responded to a report of a shooting in East Harlem. A witness at the scene said the suspect fled after stealing a bike at gunpoint. Officer Holder was shot in the head while chasing the robbery suspect. He died at Harlem Hospital. The suspect was arrested after being treated for gunshot wounds at the New York Hospital Cornell Medical Center.
Syria's President Bashar al-Assad has paid Moscow a surprise visit to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin. This is Assad's first trip overseas since the civil war broke out in his country 4 years ago. A spokesman says their meeting was centered on coordinating military actions in Syria. Russia launched a strike in Syria against militant groups last month to support Assad's regime. Assad says Russia's involvement has stopped terrorism from becoming more widespread and harmful in Syria. The U.S. and allies say the intervention is doing little beyond to keep Assad in the power and fueling.
Black Lives Matter is a movement organized by activists who are pushing back against brutality and oppression in all forms. Now let's go over to Matador News reporter Kiara Draper to see how CSUN is getting involved.
I'm sitting here with CSUN journalism professor and co-chair of the Civil Discourse and Social Change Initiative, Marcy de Veaux. What is the purpose of the Civil Discourse and Social Change Initiative?
Well, CDSC, as we call it, is really twofold. It's an opportunity for students to come together and learn about activism. Our mission is to help our students recognize that social justice movements really begin with them. If you look at the history of social justice movements in our country, it has always been young people, usually people on college campuses who enact change. So we're trying to bring some of that history to CSUN and also work with activists who are here to help them look for opportunities to create change in their communities. We also have a learning commons for faculty. So they can go to our website, find resources to work with students in the classroom in conjunction with the things that we do here on campus with our events and forums and symposiums.
Okay, so speaking of events, one of your organization's upcoming events is the Black Lives Matter workshop. So can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, sure. It's on November 4th here on campus. It's in the Flint Ridge room on the USC at 4 o'clock. We're going to bring activists from around Los Angeles to campus to talk with students and to hear from them about what their lives are like, and to talk about the anti-Black movement that really has permeated in this country for the last year or so, which really spawned Black Lives Matter. So activists are coming for a symposium. We hope to have at least 200 students there. Following the symposium, there'll be a workshop where these activists will teach our students how to create change through nonviolent direct action. We're really excited about having Reverend James Lawson here on our campus as our scholar. You know, he is the architect of nonviolent direct change. And so we're going to do some of that work with students in a workshop immediately following.
Cool. Okay, so what's one thing you want students who attend this workshop to, take away from it?
We'd like them to take away the fact that they have power. They have power to create change. And you don't have to wait for something major to happen before you can create change. It can be something in your own community that you see as an injustice against your neighbors or a different community, and you can speak up. You can just speak up through the media, or you can just organize and create change that way. And we want to encourage our students to look for those opportunities.
Well, thank you. That's all for now. I'm Kiara Draper, and back to Desiree in the studio.
Officials in New Mexico are looking for information on an apparent road rage incident that left a 4-year-old girl dead. The girl's mother and father were both in the car, but no one else was hurt. The father said the suspect pulled up beside them and started firing rounds into the car. Witnesses said the incident involved cars cutting each other on their interstate. Officials have no information on the suspect and are asking for the help of witnesses.
The Los Angeles City Council is still trying to organize a system for Uber and Lyft drivers transporting passengers to and from LAX. The new system will require Uber and Lyft drivers to apply for a separate permit for airport drop-offs and pickups. A fee of $4 would be added to passenger fare. That fee would go towards the general operating budget for LAX. Only passengers in the designated digital waiting areas will be able to use the services. Taxi drivers are not happy about the change. An experienced taxi driver told the LA Times taxi services will go out of business.
Los Angeles County is considering requiring all cat owners to spay or neuter a microchip to their pet cats. Having your cat spayed or neutered will prevent unwanted litter of kittens. Cats that are microchipped have a higher success rate of being returned to after their lost strain from home. LA County officials say cats are euthanized at the disproportionate rate compared to dogs. Dogs brought to LA County shelters are killed at a rate of 30%. Cats are killed at a rate of 70%.
The search for a Kern County missing man has been delayed until Saturday. Officials say the wet and muddy conditions make the search too dangerous. Richard Harville was camping with a friend in a flash flood zone Thursday when he was swallowed by a wall of mud. Officials were using cadaver dogs to search for Harville. The chances of him being alive are diminishing as the days pass. His friends and family remain optimistic.
Now here's Jamie Perez. Is it because, I don't know, I don't know. Do I look at this one? Okay, now here's Jamie Perez with your latest in sports news.
The Kansas City Royals and the New York Mets have a chance to play in the World Series if they both win their games tonight. The Royals defeated the Blues last night, taking a 3-1 lead in the American League Championship Series. The Royals scored early in the first inning. Second baseman Ben Zobrist homered to deep right center, putting Kansas City in the lead 2-0. The team tagged 2 more runs in the inning, taking a 4-0 lead. They went on to score 10 more runs, beating the Blue Jays 14-2. The teams play again tonight in Toronto. If the Royals win, they head to the World Series. Switching over now to the National League Championship Series. The New York Mets lead their series 3-0 against the Chicago Cubs. In the top of the third inning, second baseman Daniel Murphy hit a two-run homer, putting the Mets up 2-1. The Cubs came back at the bottom of the fourth with a home run from Jorge Soler. Jumping to the seventh inning, the Mets broke the game open with 2 runs, breaking a 2-2 tie. Pitcher Jacob deGrom pitched 7 innings and they gave up 4 hits, 2 runs, and struck out 7 batters. The Mets are up 3-0 and will have a shot at playing in the World Series if they win their game tonight. The CSUN men's soccer team will play against Fullerton tonight. CSUN will return to Titan Stadium to break a winless streak against Cal State Fullerton that dates back to last season. With 4 games left in the regular season, Matadors are positioned to win the Big West Conference. CSUN currently sits in second in the South Division. A win for CSUN will be a boost for the Matadors to come out of the division with a playoff berth. Now let's go back to entertainment with Sophie Ashley with the latest stories.
Khloe Kardashian says she and Lamar have called off their divorce for the time being. She also issued her official statement yesterday for the first time since Lamar Odom was found unconscious at a Nevada brothel. Odom's wife wrote on her website saying the past week has been incredibly difficult. The reality TV star wrote that it's impossible to prepare for an experience like this, and she expressed gratitude and thanks to family, friends, and fans. The statement comes after the NBA player was released from a Las Vegas hospital Monday and moved to Cedars-Sinai in Beverly Hills. Chris Rock will be returning to host the 2016 Oscars for a second time. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences made the announcement this morning. Chris Rock tweeted, "Look who's back, #Oscars." Producers Reginald Hudlin and David Hill said Chris Rock is truly the MVP of the entertainment industry. Rock previously hosted the Oscars telecast in 2005. The 88th Academy Awards will broadcast Sunday, February 28, 2016. Now let's toss it to health with Jamie Perez.
Scientists have identified a gene that is putting women at greater risk for heart disease. Women who have a particular version of BCAB1 are said to have a higher risk rate of heart attacks and strokes. Men also have the gene are not at an increased risk. Researchers suggest that the gene may encourage the mass migration of cells into walls of key blood vessels, making them thicker. As blood vessels thicken, it can possibly increase the chance of blockage that leads to heart attacks and strokes. Women can reduce their risk by eating healthy, getting regular exercise, and not smoking. Now let's toss it to the newsroom with April Sanchez to talk more about marijuana usage.
Thank you, Jamie. A new government survey says more than 22 million adults use marijuana every day. The recent trend reflects a cultural shift regarding the drug. Recreational use is now permitted in 4 states, including Alaska, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. Many other states are moving to reduce penalties for marijuana possession. Proposed laws supporting recreational use have been introduced in 21 states, according to the National Conference of State Legislatures. I talked to CSUN students to see how they think culture impacts use.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like now that more people do it, more people have like a friend or a family member that does it, so it's not like as stigmatized as it was before.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think a lot more people are understanding of it and they are actually accepting of it to try it and whether to not to try it, so yeah.
The survey also says use increased among all ages, but was most common in adults ages 18 to 29. Now let's toss it back to business with Sophie with the latest stories.
Toyota has announced a global recall of 6.5 million cars. This recall is to fix power window switches that short circuit and catch fire. The lack of grease reportedly allows debris to build up at electrical contact points, causing switches to overheat and melt. One U.S. customer reportedly suffered a burn on their hand. The recall includes 2.7 million cars in North America and 1.2 million in Europe. Affected cars were manufactured from 2005 to 2010. Some of the models include Toyota's Camry, Highlander, Tundra, Sequoia, and Corolla. Toyota says they are not aware of any crashes caused by the problems. Western Digital Corporation says it plans to buy memory chipmaker company SanDisk for about $19 billion. Western Digital will gain access to a supply of semiconductors that helps create thumb drive and memory chips. This technology can be accessed on both laptops and mobile devices. The company combined will be headquartered in Irvine. That's all for business news. Let's go back to Desiree with more news.
Great Scott! We have officially made it to October 21st, 2015, the day Marty McFly and Doc Brown traveled to in the movie Back to the Future 2. While we don't have flying cars yet, we do have internet on our phones. How amazing is that? The 1989 film also predicted television and video conferencing, drones, hands-free video games. Marty McFly plays in the arcade game called Wild Gunman at the Cafe 80s in 2015. And video glasses in the movie, kids wear high-tech goggles to the dinner table, similar in function to Google Glasses, Oculus Rift, and Samsung VR. And finally, the world champion Chicago Cubs, but some features aren't too predictable.
That's all for Matador News. I'm Mariah Robinson.
And I'm Desiree Lopez.
I'm Sophia Ashley.
And I'm Jamie Perez. Have a great day, LA.